Welcome to Voice Notes with Taz, short reflections on voice, presence, and communication, because your voice is so much more than just sound. Now, this is edition 3 of my weekly newsletter, and it's called Your Story is Your Strategy. Now, when I coach leaders, one of the first things I notice is how quickly they dismiss their own story. They'll say, it's not relevant, it's too personal, or nobody wants to hear that. But here's the truth. The story you fear sharing is often the one that sets someone else free. The thing is, most of us avoid stories. Most of us avoid getting personal. We hide behind slides, behind data, behind polished talking points, because stories feel vulnerable. It feels messy. It feels risky. So we tell ourselves it's safer to keep things professional. The irony is when we avoid story, we avoid connection. And without connection, leadership falls flat. Without connection, everything falls flat. Now let's dive into the science of it like we always do. Dr. Paul Zak, a neuroscientist, discovered that when we listen to character-driven stories, our brains release oxytocin, the so-called trust hormone. That's what makes us more empathetic, more open, and more connected. David J.P. Phillips explained this beautifully in his TED Talk titled The Magical Science of Storytelling. He showed how stories release different signaling substances within us. For example, dopamine fuels focus when suspense builds. Oxytocin fosters empathy when we share vulnerability. And endorphins lighten the room when humor or relief breaks through. And I've seen this firsthand working with David over the years. His whole approach to communication isn't just about slides or delivery. It's about chemistry. It's about how your words can literally shift the biology of your audience, moving them from a place of tension to a place of trust, from a place of resistance to a place of resonance. Now let's look at an example. I want you to picture this. A leader shares a high-stakes moment where everything went wrong. The deal collapsed, the silence was unbearable, but instead of hiding it, they pause and then reveal the absurd little details that made them laugh at themselves. Maybe the projector fell, maybe their shirt was inside out the whole time. The entire room would shift at that. Tension would dissolve and people would laugh, not at the leader, but with them. People do not laugh at you, they become one with you because essentially they are seeing themselves in your story, or they are relating to it in a meaningful way. They are connecting with you. And in that moment of shared laughter, we have to acknowledge that endorphins are flowing. Feel-good hormones are flowing, which ultimately makes them trust you more, makes them connect to you more. And what could have been a story of failure becomes a story of resilience, humility, humanity. And if we dive even further into the research, here's why storytelling isn't a luxury in leadership. It's an absolute necessity. Harvard Business Review found that stories are 22 times more memorable than facts alone. 22 times more. Facts may inform, but story mobilises. It transforms values into lived experiences. It turns vision into something people carry with them long after the meeting ends. So here's the core of my voice note with you today. Storytelling doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be yours. Start with something meaningful. Start with something simple. And here are 3 ways that you can do this. Number 1, set the scene. Therefore, where were you? And why does it matter? Number 2, share the shift. In other words, what happened? What was the one thing that happened that changed things? And number 3, offer a spark. What insight or meaning came out of it? So let's look at those 3 things again. Number 1, set the scene. Number 2, share a shift. And number 3, offer the spark. That's it. Simple, easy, and impactful. Now, when we look at storytelling, we tap into the personal space of someone. We tap into their understanding. We tap into the way that they are processing information. We tap into their personability, if we can call it that. Might be too simple a word. And that's what makes storytelling so powerful. Because when we bring it into our relationships, into our interactions, into our leadership, it changes the way people experience us. That is the magic of expression. Whether you're a leader or simply an everyday individual going about your business, storytelling has the power to shift how people see you and ultimately how you see yourself. Your story is the one strategy no one else can replicate. It belongs to you, and it just might be the moment that changes everything. And just like that, we have reached the end. This is Voice Notes with Taz, and I've absolutely loved reflecting with you today on stories and strategy. Here's to you finding your story. Here's to you unlocking your strategy and connecting in ways that you truly deserve. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to hearing your reflections. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye.